Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 9 of Set the Sails, the podcast. Glad to be here with you this evening. Hopefully you guys will join us in the comments as we sometimes in life we have these moments where sports and sports talk just kind of helps heal things. And here at Bucs Life Media, we lost a family member today, or last night, I should say. We lost a really good friend, Kyle Riddle. Kyle was a writer who was very passionate about his Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've known Kyle for several years, going back to our time at another media source, and I'm very thankful for the friendship and the time that I've had to spend with Kyle. Riddle's Rundown was a fun article. If you read those, we shared some of those today on the page. But I'm very thankful today, as we all should be. And I think if Kyle were still here with us today, he would tell us that talking about the Bucs is the best way that we can honor him. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that tonight in Set the Sails, the podcast. And so I'm very thankful to be here with you today. Thank you for joining us. And let's kick off episode 9 of Set the Sails.
Welcome to Set the Sails, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. Brought to you by Bucs Life Media and our official sponsor, the Jersey Wave. Streaming on FanStreamSports.com, airing on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And now, your hosts, James Flash Ludeman, James Britbuck Wilson, and Ruth The Truth Cagias. We are going live in 3, 2, 1.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is James Ludeman. Thank you so much for tuning in to Set the Sails, episode number 9. We are so glad you guys are here with us today. And I want to bring on one of my good friends first. Of course, you know him as Britbuck, James Wilson. Mr. Britbuck, good evening, sir. Welcome to the show. How are we doing?
Here we are, episode 9 already. It's amazing how quickly time flies. And you know what? Just off the back of what you said there, it reminds you very starkly of how little time we all have together. Today we lost a great friend, a family member, a great sports writer, a great friend. You know what? Kyle is going to leave a hole that isn't going to be filled in everybody's lives who knew him. But you know what? James and me, we're going to power through. Sorry, that was just
you suck, man. I wasn't trying to get all emotional right out. I made it through that first part, and then you just got to freaking talk like that, meanie.
I know. What can I say? Hey, you know what? If I'm going down, I'm taking everybody with me. And you know what? It just something that anyone who ever met Kyle will tell you is, and he did this so often. He was able to take me when I was down, and he would say something so hilarious that, you know what, the troubles and what I was going through, it didn't matter. Because you know what, there was laughter to be had. Things weren't always that serious. And you know what, tonight we're going to power through, and we're going to bring you the best show that we can, honouring Kyle in the best way we can, and we are going to talk some football. James, if you're capable, take it away.
All right. Well, let's add our third member. Of course, you know her as Ruth The Truth Cagias, joining us live from down in that window. Welcome, Ruth. How are we doing today?
You really need to work on that introduction.
I know.
Wow.
I don't know what I'm doing.
It's only episode 9. Stick with us, and I'm telling you, it's only going to get better from here, I promise.
That's right.
Well, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me again, guys. I feel so honored to be working with both the Jameses. And I just want to take a moment and tell you guys that I'm very, very sorry for your loss of your great friend, Kyle Ritter. And I send my prayers to his family and his loved ones. And I just want everybody to know that, people they need help, and you shouldn't ignore the signs. And if you have somebody who you feel like is troubled and is going through it, people need to reach out because it could possibly save lives. And again, I'm very sorry for your guys' loss, but we're going to do tonight's episode in honor of Kyle, and we're going to bring you guys the best damn show. And I'm so excited to be joined by the Jameses.
And for heaven's sake, watch your language. Anyway, no, just kidding. But no, it's okay. Well, joining us in studio is actually somebody pretty awesome today. Our first guest we're going to bring on right now, Mr. Kenny Morales. He is from Spectrum Sports, one of the anchors also on Bay News 9 down there in the Tampa Bay area. If you turn to Channel 9, it's on all day. So you've probably seen Kenny at some point throughout your day. Kenny, welcome to Set the Sails, sir. How are we doing?
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Doing well so far. Excited to join y'all.
Kenny almost didn't make it to the show today because he had some disparaging things to say about the Gators today. So, but you know what? We're a forgiving bunch here, so it's okay.
That. Thank you.
Lucky guy, Kenny.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we'll start out like this, Kenny. Obviously, the big story really in kind of the world right now is obviously this pandemic of COVID-19 that's going around. Obviously, we've talked, I think, enough about it at this point. But I think the big question I think a lot of fans are asking is, it's not unrealistic to think that there may not be a season. I know the NFL is really going to push for that. But what do you think the NFL is thinking at this point? I mean, the cases in Florida especially are going up. Unfortunately, people put your mask on. But anyway, it's true. There's a lot of things that are happening that are just not shifting in sports' way right now. So tell us kind of what you think about this whole thing going on.
Yeah, I think right now the one thing the NFL has on its side compared to some of these other leagues that are trying to restart seasons is a little more time, right? They're not going to start for another couple months. So at least they have some time to work with and see where this thing is going. Because, if you would have asked me a couple months ago when, the cases were starting to kind of trend downward and it seemed like maybe we were starting to get control of this thing a little bit, at least in Florida, I would have said, yeah, I see the football season going on as normal. And I don't know if I would have said, 100%, capacity we could have fans at stadiums, no problem, but maybe 50%. It's some form of fan in games. But now with the rising cases, especially in Florida and in Texas, with so many teams in those states, to me, it's starting to get a little murky, and I'm not so confident about it anymore. But like you mentioned, the NFL is going to do everything and anything it can in its power to play these games, whether that is, they've talked about it. They might push the season back, move games around, play games with no fans in the stands, which that would be a big financial hit, hundreds of millions of dollars for each team. But that's better than playing no games at all, because then you're losing TV. The money for those teams is in the TV deals. I mean, that's billions and billions of dollars. So if you can at least play the games with no fans, that's better than nothing at all. So for me, I'm an optimistic. So I do think we're going to have a season. I just don't know exactly what that season will look like. Probably very different. That's one thing I can be sure of. It's going to look very different.
Everything's different now.
Exactly, and everything will be different for who knows how long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I think it's very interesting. When you sit there and first of all, I never would have imagined that we would be sitting here in July talking about maybe one of the best case scenarios being that the Bucs play in front of no fans. Yeah. I know that's difficult because of the hundreds of millions of dollars that you mentioned, because this league is just based on money. I mean, it really is.
Yeah,
if you look
it really is. It's a business. It's a humongous business.
It is. So I guess for me, to play in front of no fans, I guess, is that a victory compared to, because here we have, for instance, I know this is not football related, but we have baseball who's just going in this back and forth, between the two,
Right.
as we can't figure out what to do because one side wants to do this, the other side wants to do that. And this back and forth is kind of doing something similar to that, except for it seems like they have it a little bit more together at this point. Do you think it's going to be a situation like Major League Baseball, or do you think the NFL is learning because they're the last sport really in line?
No, I don't think it'll be a situation like that. Like the whole baseball situation is more than just the COVID thing, right? It's a money situation there as well between the players and the team owners. Now I think they'll figure it out. I was just thinking about it too because I was just watching the NASCAR race because it's getting super exciting there. And Bubba Wallace, who's now my new favorite NASCAR driver, was like top. It was like in third place for a second. I was like, whoa! I'm not really a big racing fan, so I was glued to the TV. NASCAR has kind of been doing this thing where they've been letting fans in, kind of little by little, where I think first couple races there were none. I think today they let in 5,000. Maybe that's something the NFL could do. If this situation does start to slowly get a little better as we go into the fall, maybe the first couple of home games for the Bucs, no fans. Okay, that stinks. Nobody likes that. But if it allows you to have fans later on when the games really matter, when you're getting close to playoffs and you need to win as many games as possible, and then let's say the playoffs do come around, you want that. If you're going to have home field, you want that advantage. So maybe that's something they could do. And in that case, I would think it's a huge win compared to what's going on with baseball right now, where I don't know if they're going to have a season. I mean, they might not, which is absolutely ridiculous because they had a chance to be the only show in town for like a month and really get some new fans, some new eyeballs on the TV, and now they're going to lose fans.
Go ahead, Rick.
I think that's one of the dangers a lot of sports have got actually right now is how they're going to sort of play the reintegration and how much of these private conversations are leaked by each side as each side sort of tries to garner sympathy for their own cause. Obviously, I've got a question for you, but I'm just going to quickly ask you. So, shout out to Eric Wilson over on YouTube watching us here. He's asking if the NFL gets halfway through and there's a spike in the COVID cases, do you see the NFL pushing on, or do you think that's going to be it for them?
I see them pushing on. I mean, it depends on the outbreak. If it's, a whole team, like 90% of the team, what can you do, right? But if it's a situation where, I don't know, there's 50, whatever the active roster is, if there's a, couple, maybe 10 players, let's say that. Let's go with that. That's the most I've seen. Let's say like college. I've seen a couple college football teams have 10 players test positive. Okay, you lose those 10 players. In that case, you have to go and get your practice squad guys and then maybe sign a couple other guys off the street. As long as they're not, big time. That would be terrible. The situation I'm thinking is if you had lose all your starters, like if you had a situation where you lose Brady, Evans, Sue, Shaq Barrett, then that's awful. But what can you do? You gotta get next man up. It's like an injury essentially. I think that the NFL would go ahead and push forward as long as it wasn't a situation where a team had 90% of its roster, test positive. At that point, what can you do? You don't have enough players. I think you'd have to forfeit games. I don't know what would happen in that situation, but for the most part, I think they would just push forward.
So, I totally understand. It's obviously, I think certain expectations need to be sort of placed around the players, the spike of cases, and it's whether or not, if we're going forward, there are going to be cases. Mm-hmm. You cannot stage a game in the NFL without people coming into contact. But another thing that I'm sort of curious to get your thoughts on, Kenny, is now you might be aware, obviously, of the letter that was sent out by the league, sort of advising players not to sort of carry out private, their own private workouts. Do you sort of, obviously, as Keyshawn Johnson famously remarked, that's the difference between voluntary and mandatory. Because obviously the association hasn't placed a mandatory ban on it, it's more of an advisory. Do you think players are going to listen to that, or do you think they're going to carry on as they are and keep trying to get a leg up?
I think for the most part, players will probably carry on. I don't know many. I'm not sure how much you guys have kept up with media around here, but we've had some helicopters fly by a local high school where Brady has been training with a couple other dudes, throwing a couple guys. I think Gronk was out there. I think Rojo was out there one day. I don't know if, you know, maybe the size of those practices becomes a little smaller. They're already small to begin with. It was like 10 players, but maybe it gets even smaller. I don't know. But I think for the most part, guys working out together, like if you're, you know, as long as you're not like, you know, going, you know, tackling each other or anything like that, I think you'll be okay. And then especially, I'm assuming that those guys probably are finding ways to, you know, get tested before they do, or just, you know, tons of hand sanitizer, do whatever they can to stay, you know, clean and prevent the spread of any COVID-19. But I don't think it's going to, as long as it's not mandatory, I don't think that's going to stop them from working out together.
Yeah, I understand your point completely. Also, okay, so let's say that the NFL proceeds with their regular preseason, hopefully starting in October, when the NBA should be making a close with crowning a champion for the 2020 season. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Do you empathize with players when they say that they feel like being away from their families for a 5-month period? Because let's say we put these NFL teams in bubbles. Yeah. And they're unable to leave their training facilities, from their hotels. They're not able to see their friends and family. Do you believe that that should, you know, be something that players should consider so they could receive a paycheck in the next coming season?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
What if somebody just had a child? Are you really gonna, you know, expect them to not be able to see their own kids for 5 months? Like that's exactly. You know, I empathize for them. I
do too. No, I absolutely do as well, and that's why I don't. Like, I think we've already seen a couple NBA players come out and say that they're not going to play for different reasons. But if that were an NFL player saying that because they, you know, I don't want to be away from my wife who just gave birth, you know, I don't blame that guy at all. Go right ahead. It's a newborn baby. I don't know what I would do. I feel like I would probably make the same move if I was a new dad, right? That's incredibly challenging. And so, and that's something that they might have to consider, because the NFL, if things don't get better, they might have to move to the hub plan, because that is the safest route, right? I mean, we've seen the NBA do it, MLS do it, and the NHL's trying to do it. I think if things don't get better in terms of the outbreaks in different states, the NFL might have to do that as well.
All right, so we're talking with Kenny Morales, of course, from Spectrum Sports. You can catch him on Bay News 9 as well. Kenny, let's kind of shift gears because COVID is depressing. But anyway, so let's kind of shift gears. Obviously, look, we could talk all night about the impact of Tom Brady and what he brings to this team. I think it's kind of an overblown, you know, topic at this point. But here is what I would like to talk about, because this is something that really – to me is a very important topic that I don't think we're giving it enough talk, and it is somewhat of a negative, but I want to see maybe kind of how you would see this as a member of the media there. So with Tampa last year, they were ranked 4th in points allowed defensively. We obviously saw in the offseason that these guys brought back a lot of these great players. Shaq Barrett, franchise tag, JPP, Ndamukong Suh, Levante David's there, obviously Devin White. I mean, you got some big names on this defense right now. Mm-hmm. So do you think the defense will be better as a whole as far as allowing points in that category, or do you think it's still going to be, I think they're going to give up points, but maybe not as much as they did last year? Do you see improvement there?
No, I do see legitimate improvement. I you know, obviously when you get a guy like Tom Brady and Gronkowski, that side of the ball is going to steal all the headlines, and rightfully so. But the defense is going to be really good, I think. Todd Bowles is a mastermind, a little bit of an evil genius there with the amount of blitzes he can dial up. And the fact that they were able to keep that front 7 together is huge, because, I mean, all those guys took steps forward. I mean, Levante David is one of the best linebackers in the league. Devin White was really good as a rookie. I think he's going to make a big jump his second year. Keeping JPP around, keeping Sue, and then, oh my goodness, she's Shaq Barrett. How huge was he? You know, to keep him and franchise tag him, that's big. And then really what the issue for them last year defensively was the secondary. And it's a young secondary. That's why just a ton of guys are second-year guys, rookies. But they started to kind of come around there towards the second half of the season, it seemed like. And then the other, so I think they're gonna take another step forward. The other thing was in terms of points allowed, Jameis Winston didn't exactly put them in the best positions many a times.
Who? I don't know who that is anymore. Who is that?
He's an old guy, you know. I think he's an old ex.
This is the one time I want Donnie here because Donnie would chime in, and so Donnie Pepin watches our show. He's a regular, and every time Jameis is mentioned, no matter if it's from me or anyone else, he says, "Look, there's James talking about Jameis again," even though I didn't even say anything. It's still my fault.
Was me this time. I'm sorry, Donnie. I take full blame. The ex quarterback who will not be named.
I love it.
He did not put the defense in the greatest of positions, and so when you compare his 30 interceptions to Tom Brady's 8 interceptions last year, I think that's going to make a big difference for that defense.
I mean, yeah, it's the Donnie Pepin thing. It's great. Sorry, just before I come back to you, Kenny, it's great that we actually have like viewers like Donnie that we can actually have running jokes with. And I'm sorry that you're missing him tonight, actually, Kenny. So someone's actually beat me to the punch in the comments. Our parent Facebook company, Bucs Life Media. Now, I was going to just ask, it's not so much of a question as a request, really. Can you just sort of put people to rights why we don't need Jamal Adams?
Because look, I like Jamal Adams. He's a terrific player. He's one of the best safeties in the league. Absolutely one of the best safeties in the league. But he's going to cost you $20 million in about a year or so, whatever. I think he wants his contract, I think, is done after this upcoming year. And safety is kind of like one of those positions. It's like running back. You don't, back up the Brinks truck for a running back these days. Very few. I mean, maybe an Ezekiel Elliott type and like one or two other guys. Everyone else, you just go get someone in the draft or someone, a different type of player. I like Jamal Adams. He's great, but he's not what you need right now. Not for this Buccaneers team. There's that secondary is good. Trust me. They're young. They're learning. You don't need him to come in right now. And if you do that, you'd have to make so many moves and mess around with this team already that I think already looks like a pretty good roster.
Well, and I said this today to somebody who asked me the question. I was talking to some friends today, and they're like, "Oh, I heard that you guys are thinking about Jamal Adams." And I said, No, we're not getting Jamal Adams. You know why? We could barely afford paper plates right now. Yeah. We can't afford anybody at this point. I mean, we don't even have the room for him.
No, I think what are they, like a little under $5 million in the
maybe. I don't even know if it's that much.
Yeah, there's not much, and Jamal Adams is going to cost a pretty penny. So no, he's not. He's not. Like I said, terrific player, but he's not worth it right now.
All right, well, let's Kenny, we're going to get you off of here in just a second, but before we let you go, again, I told you about this was coming before the show started, so I gave you some warning. Usually I don't like to give warning, but our next guest is going to hear this too, and by the way, Joe, be ready. So here's the question for you, Kenny Morales, Spectrum Sports, Bay News 9, for video purposes and for audio purposes, what is your, if we have a season, of course, what is your way too early season prediction for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? What is the record? How far do they go this season?
So my prediction is the Buccaneers go 12-4. They finish second in the NFC South. The Saints win it. I think that's still fair. But I think they do split. I think they split the season series. I do think they split the season series. And I think they do get to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know if they win it.
Just so everybody knows, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers make it to the Super Bowl, which we all believe will happen, they will be the first team in NFL history to ever be playing the Super Bowl in their home field.
Listen, Ruth has it every week ready to go. Every week.
Ready to drop that. That's why she's Ruth the Truth, right? Just dropping knowledge. I love it.
Shout out.
Yeah, I think I think they are a Super Bowl contender. I think they'll make it there. I just don't know if they're good enough to beat a team like the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are just just stupid loaded.
Well, we'll see the Chiefs. We'll see the Chiefs toward the end of the year too.
Yeah, that's gonna be what an exciting game that's gonna be.
Could be a Super Bowl preview potentially.
I think it will be.
All right. Well, Kenny Ross, before you go, we're going to give you the floor just for a second. What do you got going on? Where can people find you? Do you have anything happening that you're involved with? You got some shameless plug time right now. It's all you.
Shameless plug time. Sweet. I appreciate this. Nothing more than I guess you already mentioned it. Spectrum Bay News 9, our show Spectrum Sports 360 every day, 10:30 at night. I host it usually Fridays and Saturdays. If not, you'll see my face pop up on there every so often. I'm on Twitter at Kenny Morales TV if you guys want to follow. Talk about sports, talk about music, a little bit of everything. A lot of memes too. And then that's pretty much it, I think. Appreciate you guys for having me on. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Kenny, for joining us, and we really appreciate your insight.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right,
Great to have you on.
You take it easy, buddy.
All righty, guys. Take it easy.
Right. See ya.
Keep it breezy.
Yeah, Kenny's an awesome guy, man. And even if you do follow Kenny on Twitter, by the way, be ready because he has a lot of really good stuff out there. That's kind of what drew me in to him. He's got some really good knowledge and it's cool. It's really fun. He's a good dude. So make sure you go check out his Twitter, Kenny Morales TV. Good stuff. All right, so we have a special treat for you all now. This is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. So a few weeks ago, I think it was episode. What episode was that, Britt Buck? Was that 5 that we had the Carolina Panthers friend on with us?
Yes,
I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah. How could we forget my debut?
That was your debut. That's fine. There you go.
And
All
I'm
right,
still here, guys.
So this one is actually somebody who I've been talking to on and off. And of course, I said at the beginning of the year and when we started this show that we're going to talk a lot about the Bucs, of course, but I want to get some opinions from the NFC South. All right. So at this time, we're going to bring Joe Carlino in. He is from Downtown Sports Network covering the Falcons in Atlanta. Joe, welcome to Set the Sails, the podcast. How are we feeling tonight, good sir?
I'm doing excellent tonight, James. Mr. Britt Buck, it's a pleasure to meet you for the first time. And hello again, Ruth. It has been, 6 months since we last saw each other? Maybe
Yeah, it's been a little while. Good to see you again, Joe.
Reunited and it feels good. Anyway, all right. So there's your singing moment right there for everybody.
In all fairness, I was listening in to you guys speaking with Kenny Morales of Spectrum. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, carry on after his thing, but I'll do my best.
It's okay. We carry on every week, so I don't know. Somehow
It is a carry on.
yeah, it is. Somehow we do it too. I don't know. All right, so Joe, if you guys have questions, obviously he covers the Falcons. We're aware of this. It is a Bucs show, but again, we're also in the NFC South, so it's cool to get some conversation, just like we had with Carolina a few weeks ago. So now we have Atlanta. So if you have a question for Joe, just use the hashtag #AskJoe, and we will get those questions out so he can maybe shed some light on those things. But let me start with this. Obviously, with who the Bucs have picked up, there's been a lot of news, obviously, on the Bucs in the NFC South, obviously. And, of course, the Saints are always in the mix for first place. But Atlanta, to me, and I've said this several times, Atlanta is one of those teams that you just never want to sleep on because they're one of those teams that they still have weapons around them, plus the addition of Todd Gurley, if he can remain healthy, of course. Can he be the Todd Gurley of old? So tell us, as a Falcons fan right now, because we know you cover the Falcons, obviously, so you got to be somewhat of a fan. Just tell us kind of how you guys are feeling down there in Atlanta.
Well, first off, James, I'm actually not even from Atlanta. I'm originally from Long Island, and I've been living in the Tampa Bay area for the better part of 22 of my 24 years on this planet.
Man, no, just kidding. No.
Yeah, I mean, I love the city of Atlanta. I love the fans. I love the camaraderie that the team brings. I bought into that brotherhood claim that Dan Quinn came in back when he first was hired in 2015. That 3 pillars: ball, battle, brotherhood. Those things work entirely, in my opinion. I mean, going off the Todd Gurley thing, like you said, we really don't know what's going to happen with him per se. But the thing is, what if it's just a smokescreen, hypothetically? Because for all we know, Dirk Carter could be just saying things like a smokescreen. I mean, we saw the videos of him on the Bozu ball, I think is what that thing is called. Like he's bouncing on it. He's got, I think one of them, he had like a medicine ball while he was catching like a tennis ball, I think was one of them. So it's possible that it could be a smokescreen, and then you went off on it. I mean, nobody really knows what we're going to get from Atlanta. I mean, the first year Atlanta had Dan Quinn started out 5-0, same as Carolina. Lost 6 of our next 7 games, I think was what happened, with the one outlier, I think, being if I remember correctly, it was the game against Tennessee. We won 10-7. Then the next year, we all know how that ended. It was a massive high and then massive low. It's a fun time. And then the whole thing about the Super Bowl hangover we had going into the next season, we finished 10-6. Nobody gave us a shot to beat the Rams, who did have Todd Gurley back then. And we went into their stadium. We beat them down. And then we went to the Eagles and lost in the last minute. We were inside the 10. That one play to Julio, it was tough. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go here and there. And then the year after that, leading on to Super Bowl 53, where we had it, I wasn't too going off on Atlanta making the Super Bowl then, maybe the playoffs, but then the injury bug bit in the first 3 weeks of the year. We lost Keanu Neal to the ACL and Deion Jones to a foot injury in that game. Then week 2, you lose Devontae Freeman for weeks on end. Then week 3, which was arguably one of our best games against the Saints, that overtime game. In overtime, we lose Ricardo Allen to a torn Achilles. And then last year, we started out 1-7. Keanu Neal tears his Achilles in game 3 against the Colts. Ironic, our 2 safeties in concurrent years tear their Achilles in the 3rd game of the year. Then the bye week happens, that 1-7 game against the Saints. I'm watching that game and I'm looking, I'm seeing sack. I'm like, what's going on here? How are we getting sacks? Because we couldn't get past the line the first half of the season. And then it happened the next week, just adding 4 interceptions. Then we played you guys. We lost at home. We had the 3 onside kick recoveries in a row against the Saints on Thanksgiving night. I still don't know how that happened, but hey, Younghoe Koo, props to you, Foye Oluokun, coming in, getting some of those. Then we get McGarry and Lindstrom back, and we beat the 49ers on the road in San Francisco, which nobody gave us a shot in that game. Then we beat the Panthers, and we know what happened in Week 17. Jameis, 30 for 30, which should be an ESPN documentary coming up soon. Yes, I mean, for all we know, I mean, Atlanta could be a 7-9 team again next year. Could be 10-6, 11-5 if all the cards play right. I mean, they have 11 first-round picks on offense slated to start this year. And one name which I can't understand, I mean, I can understand a little bit looking at his stats, Laquan Treadwell. We signed him in free agency to a 1-year deal, and he was a former first-round pick with Minnesota. So you add him in there, we've got 12 former first-round picks on offense. And then you look at the defense, we have, of the 22 players, we're projected to have 18 starters that were first-round picks. So if all goes according to plan and health comes, I mean, I've already said it, that this is the best division in football, both talent and quarterbacks. You cannot deny either aspect that this is the best division in football next year, and it's going to live up to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, firstly, welcome to the show, Joe. Great to meet you. Obviously, it's great to have sort of fans like point of views, because, and I said this sort of going back to week 5 when we brought on the Panthers fan. Sometimes you can get so sort of wrapped up in how great you are, and it really is good to get an opinion from someone else about what's going on. Now, I am kind of sorry to sort of, this is probably like bringing up bad memories. I'm not going to mention 28-3 at all.
I mean, Britt, if you want to, please, by all means, because the fun thing, I live with a New England Patriot for a younger brother.
Oh, okay. So, and also hi to your dog as well. But yeah, one of the like the things that I'm curious about is like you've been there before as the Falcons, getting to sort of like, hey, you know what, this is it, this is going to be our year, but always sort of falling down at the last hurdle. And you know what, that's not a criticism, because you know what, the Bucs, we had that before we went to the Super Bowl, we won that. What do you think is sort of missing on the Falcons to maybe get them over that hurdle that they keep falling at?
I'm trying to actually think of a good. I mean, you could probably go with consistency. Maybe, you know, being able to sustain a sustained level of play throughout the year, throughout games, all that. I mean, the one thing that gets me more so, at least that Super Bowl, more so than anything, and I've said it before to my guys in DTSN. I said it in the group chat with James on Twitter, that what really gets me is when people say it wasn't the defense's fault in that game, it wasn't Dan Quinn's fault, it wasn't Kyle Shanahan's fault, it was all Matt Ryan's fault in that Super Bowl. Like, he is the only reason we lost that game. And those people are just – they clearly didn't watch that game. All they care about is just playing along with the aforementioned 28-3 and going after the memes and all that stuff. Because if you watch that game, Ryan played really well outside of the sack after the 27-yard catch to Julio, which was a straight blitz up the A gap. He really didn't have much to do. And that's the same thing with a lot of quarterbacks. When you get a straight blitz up the A gap, it's not easy to avoid something like that. But the play that gets me was that 3rd down and 1 play where he gets strip sacked by Dante Hightower off the edge. If Freeman gets a chip block there, I think it was Taylor Gabriel off the right side who beat Malcolm Butler, and that would have been a big play, maybe even a touchdown. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for that game. We had every opportunity, and we lost. It's as simple as that. Cut and dry. I'm not going to defend it. I'm going to give credit where it's due to New England. They didn't quit. We got complacent. They put us in our place. They gave us one of the biggest slices of humble pie you can possibly offer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that one, and that, you know, dreadful Super Bowl loss that you guys are still trying to live up to this day. But I would also like to mention that you guys have shown in your past season that you guys can really turn games around. I mean, Matt Ryan really has shown that, you know, in some lights, he could still be a, you know, Super Bowl contending quarterback. Were you at the home game when you guys, I believe it was week 3, when you guys won against the Eagles in like the last 10 seconds of the game, when Matt Ryan hit a bomb in like the last, in the red zone against the Eagles?
I think you're referring to week.
Julio Jones, I believe.
This is last season.
Yeah, it was like week.
It was a week 2 Sunday Night Football, and actually I was at home. I was watching it on my television at home, of which you can kind of see. I'm playing Avatar because that's for my generation. Sorry about miscellaneous plug there. But I was watching the game, and I'm watching. I'm just like, because Jim Schwartz, he was hitting us with cover zeros all night, and I read the post-game transcripts the day before, and apparently Matt Ryan said, if we get the cover zero, we need to audible into this jailbreak screen to Julio, and they got the cover zero look. He audibled it to Julio. Sanu gets the I forget the the corner that Sanu got on the chip block, but then Matthews comes in and pancakes the one guy. Julio runs up the sideline for the touchdown. I'm in my room. I'm jumping up. I'm screaming. I'm like, Julio.
I was in shock.
I also had him in fantasy, so that was good. Nice 11-point play right there helped me win. And then you see Carson Wentz come, and then they had the 4th down, and I think it was like 4th and 40, and he gets the pass completed to I think that was Alshon Jeffrey. It was either Jeffrey or it was Aguilar, because I know he had Aguilar up the left side after that, and if Aguilar catches that, or that was Jeffrey, I might be flip flopping them, but I know he had one of them. He beat. I want to say that was Alford. He beat, or it could have been Trufant, but Trufant had 2 picks in that game. But he dropped it, and if he hadn't dropped it, that was a touchdown, and Navy would have been 27-24 for a final. But they get the 1st down on that 4th down and forever play, and then the 4th down, I think it's 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, and he hits Ertz on a shallow crossing route up the middle of the field, and Keanu Neal just lays the hammer on him, and we win by a half a yard. And I was naturally ecstatic because we had just laid an egg against Minnesota. But in all fairness, Minnesota, that new stadium, at US Bank Stadium, they are pretty hard to beat up there. So, I was very happy about that game.
Yeah. How many years do you see Matt Ryan still competing in the NFL at an elite level?
I actually been asked this question a lot, to be completely honest with you, Ruth. He's going to be 34 or 35 this year. I think it's somewhere between 33 to 35. I forget the official number, to be honest with you. I give him about maybe 4 more years, get him to age 38, 39 before he really starts to. Because if you also look at recent years, his play has been still at an elite level. He's got the 2nd longest consecutive seasons of at least 4,000 passing yards with 9. And the only guy who has a longer streak is somebody who we all agree has given our division a little bit of fits in the last few years, and that's Drew Brees with 12. So I could see him going to 38, 39, then maybe a little dip. You have Drew Brees is going to be 41 this year. You have Tom Brady, he's 43. And they've got weapons. Drew Brees, he's got Sanders, he's got Michael Thomas, and he's got Kamara in the backfield. The Bucs, I've been sold on Chris Godwin ever since they got him. I thought he was a steal for you guys, and he's just easily come into it as the years have progressed. If I'm going to be fully honest, as an unbiased NFC South, if I want to be biased, I could do that, but I believe in being respectful and courteous to the context of the discussion. Godwin's a really good talent. I actually said when they had Deshaun, they should have had Godwin as a number 2 and then had Deshaun in the slot. Like, just make Deshaun primarily a slot receiver, because no corner in the slot could keep up with that kind of explosive speed. And he's still got that explosive speed. And then you got the 2 towers outside in Godwin and Evans, and it could have been easy pickings for James. And it showed this year. Granted, the 30 interceptions, there were some that were like, where was that ball being thrown to? But he had 5,100 passing yards, so something was working there.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned about through the division, and typically what we'll do with guests that we have on the show is we'll ask them. They're normally book related guests, so we'll ask what the 2 early season prediction is. It's not really fair to ask you, so I'm going to pit you against my friend Kevin, who's a Panthers fan. And what I'd like for you to do just before, obviously, you have to dash off, Joe, is can you predict for us the NFC South from first to worst? What is your order of teams?
Does it matter which way I go?
You can go from worst to first or first to worst.
Okay, I'm gonna put the Panthers. I'm sorry to your friend Kevin. I'm gonna put him in.
No, too. He put them at the bottom too.
I'm just for this year because the first year head coach and Matt Rule. I mean, getting Teddy Bridgewater is going to be interesting to see how that chemistry. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's still a good player. Not going to sugarcoat that. That is a heck of a good running back in this league. Arguably top 3, if we can all agree on that. I mean, it's between him, Saquon, and Zeke if you really look at it, at least currently. As much as it pains me to do because you guys were so generous to let me come on, I'm going to say that Tampa and Atlanta tie for second place again this year. I'm going to say both of us tie at 9-7. I'm going to say we flip-flop the records from last year from 7-9 to 9-7. And I'm going to give the Saints the division again at 11-5 because right now it's between Tampa and Atlanta to try to dethrone New Orleans naturally. So I'm going to say it's definitely going to come down to that last month and a half per se between all 3 of our teams, because if you look at Atlanta's schedule, and this is actually something that I picked up on a while back, Atlanta's schedule in the last half of the year, both the week before the bye week and then afterwards, is literally alternating. It's home, away, home, away, home, away, home, away for the remainder of the year. So that could be something for Atlanta. I mean, Tampa, they've got a good season. They got a late bye week, so I wonder how that's going to play out for you guys because, God forbid an injury bug hits. And I did allude to this on Friday because I got fortunate enough to speak to Chris Broussard and Jason McIntyre on The Odd Couple on Fox Sports Radio. I called in and I said to them, if God forbid Tom Brady goes down, I'm not again, I'm very grateful for you guys for letting me join, but hypothetically, if Tom goes down and Cam is potentially signed by somebody, there is one other option out there that's seemingly getting a lot of traction right now to get back in the league. And I wouldn't be surprised if Arians would pick him up.
Kaepernick.
Yeah, I wanted to say, but I was just I was like, but
you can say it.
I would not be upset with having Colin as a backup because I honestly think we could do some great game management for Tom Brady and not have him play all games since he's getting towards the end of his career, and throw Colin in, get his feet wet in some NFL games, and that's just wishful thinking though.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I've been saying for you. I mean, I said it with a media group that I used to write for, but some miscellaneous external things, a Madden league and a weekly pick'ems league. They, I'll be fully honest, I manipulated them. I did sugarcoat that, but because I did stuff that meant absolutely nothing, I got booted. So I'm not gonna deny that there, but I did write for them. I was very fortunate. I said it to the guy who was in charge of it. He's a Bucs fan. I was like to him, why don't you guys consider it? He was like, I would never want Colin Kaepernick on my team. Like he said if Kaepernick, he just doesn't want that on his team. He doesn't want that kind of distraction. I was like, when you think about it though, if Tom Brady goes down, who do you have? Because Jameis left, and I also say that Jameis, I feel like maybe they should have given him the tag because if you look at Arians' history, his first year with quarterbacks, he had Peyton Manning. I think he was Peyton's offensive coordinator his rookie year in '98. He had Big Ben, he had Carson Palmer. I think he had Kurt Warner in Arizona. I might be off there. And he also had Andrew Luck. Their first year, they were god awful in the interception total. They never even came close to that the rest of their career. So maybe they could have given Jameis one more year. I personally would have liked to see it. I mean, I worked for the Bucs for 5 years, so I had a lot of fans telling me, "We need you to get in the game. Jameis threw another interception," or "We need you to warm up your kicking leg because our kicker missed another field goal or a PAT." I had to deal with a lot of that. So I personally would have wanted to see Jameis there for one more year. But, I mean, it is Tom Brady, so I got to give credit where it's due. I mean, the guy is considered the GOAT for a reason. Unless you ask Rob Parker, then he's the LOAT. But, yeah, I mean, I want to see how Tampa Bay works this year with all the pieces they added, all the weapons they added. But I want to ask James, Brandon, you this real quick because I do want to know this. If it falters this year or next year, provided stuff happens, are you guys going to make excuses for the Bucs? Are you going to be like, "Oh God, if Evans makes that catch, or if we had made that stop, we would have"? Like, are you guys going to make excuses, or are you going to sleep in the bed that the Bucs made? Because they're in win now mode. They're trying to get that Super Bowl in Tampa. Are we going to get excuses, or are we going to?
There's going to be absolutely no excuses because not only is Tampa Bay going to talk the talk, but they're also going to walk the walk. I think Tom Brady has a huge chip on his shoulder, so I think he's going to use that as some fuel to get the season started and to end it on a good note. And it's like that. I mean, I feel like everybody should have a picture of the Super Bowl, okay, hanging in their locker room just to remind them that they're that close to being able to go to the Super Bowl in their own locker room.
I fully understand that. And like I said, I respect that take entirely. I mean, would it be nice to see Tampa be the first team? Yes. Historically saying, it's probably not going to transpire historically because we've seen it in the past. The team that has the Super Bowl, they usually don't do well the year they host it. Though, I mean, the two lone exceptions you can have were Minnesota, the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl over Brady. They were the one game away, and 38-7 happened. Nick Foles happened, the magic of Nick Foles. The other one was in the 80s, the 49ers, when they went to the Super Bowl. It was held at the Rose Bowl, but they were the home team. So technically, they were the first team to play a home Super Bowl, just not in the confines of their own stadium.
All right. Well, Joe, dude, I really appreciate you jumping on, man. I really appreciate all your knowledge and your insight tonight. Real quick, just where can we find you on Twitter, stuff like that? What are you doing? Just real quick, give us your info, and appreciate your time, man.
I appreciate you as well, James, Ruth, Britt. I'm sorry, I never got his name personally. I never got it.
It's James. Yeah, it's James also.
Oh, double James. All right, double James and Ruth. Well, you can follow me on Twitter. I've got my personal account at Joe Carlino 14. You can follow Downtown Sports Network at DT Sports Network, or the Falcons' personal one at DTSN Falcons. And again, I just want to take this opportunity one final time. James, and Ruth, thank you guys so much for allowing me the opportunity to come on to speak with you guys, kind of defend Atlanta a little bit, but also get some insight with you guys. I look forward to this season because this is going to be, I think, the best season in our division's relatively short history.
All right. Well, Joe, thank you so much, and you enjoy the rest of your night, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Bless up.
All right, man. All right. That was Joe Carlino from Downtown Sports Atlanta talking, having some good knowledge, and that was fun. Good stuff. Hey,
he's crazy accurate with those. Like, I think he's going to turn out to be like the accurate guy. I feel like he knows his stats that well. I'm kind of intimidated to disagree with him and be like, no, the Bucs are going to finish more than 97. It's
Well,
like,
apparently he was on another show and gotten into a debate somehow, and I don't know what happened there. I saw that comment earlier, but anyway. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have some fun.
Double J in the truth. I love that.
What?
Double J in the truth, like a new.
Double J.
Sorry, I'm watching the comments right now.
I can dig it. Well, we're going to open up our phone lines for the last little part of the show here, 727-300-5904. Give us a call. Somebody messaged me. Oh, wait, I think I can pull it up. Okay, here we go. Here's a question. Looks like from the 757. I'm not even sure where that is. Somebody looked that up. But they say, I'm guessing it's a Chicago fan. They say the Bears play the Bucs in Chicago October 8th on Thursday night. What is your prediction for that game? And apparently there's a Bears fan. Britt Buck, we'll start with you. Prediction for the Bucs and Bears.
For the Bucs,
No. Let me ask you before you do that. Two predictions, right? Number one, who wins and who's the quarterback? Because there's some controversy there right now.
Between the Bucs and the Bears?
No, but what's the score between the Bucs and the Bears, and who is Captain Jack Rackham? All right, awesome. 757 is Virginia. Okay, cool. No, the prediction I'm saying is who is the starting quarterback for the Bears? Because they have Mitch Trubisky, of course, and then they just this offseason got Nick Foles. So who's going to be the starter in that game, do you think?
Honestly, I think it's going to be like Nick Foles, just simply because Trubisky, he's had his chance. He's had his chance once. He's had his chance like time and time again. And he's such a development player that one moment he can look like, yes, he's finally got it. This is why the Bears paid that faith. And then the next, it's like, how does this guy even stay on an NFL roster? How did he even make it out of high school if this is how he
That's a shot at the Eagles, by the way. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
But they've got problems at quarterback. They have got problems. And
did you say they were playing at Soldier Field?
Yeah, they're in Chicago. Thursday night game.
Thursday night.
It's in October too, so I don't think it'll be that cold. Maybe I don't know. They might. I don't know.
I went to Chicago in September, in like the early weeks of September, and I was wearing 2 jackets. Like, it's no joke there.
Now we need to ask the bigger people. We need to ask the big people like me if it's going to be cold there, because I'm fat, so I don't have to wear that much. I really don't.
No, cold is cold. It doesn't matter the size. Cold is cold.
You know what? I hate to pull rank here, but I'm fatter than both of you.
No, you're not.
And I live further north, okay? Like, I live beyond the wall.
Hashtag we the North, right? There you go.
Yeah, like, hashtag, like, there be walkers. But yeah, I mean, October Chicago isn't going to be too bad, actually. It really isn't. A cold weather game, compared to Tampa. You know what? Thursday night, it could actually end up being a really, really good night for football. Chicago have got real problems under center. I think they've got more holes and more questions than they have answers. Will the Bucs win the game? They should. This is one of those teams that, you know what, if we're going to take them seriously, they need to beat the teams that they should. And Chicago is one of those teams. You know what? They've played great games in the past. They've absolutely beaten the stuffing out of Chicago. And then the following year, they've had the stuffing beaten out of them. And then the following year, they've done the beat. It's been a great series overall. But now when you look at the strength of the roster that Tampa Bay has got, you look at the strength of the roster in Chicago, there should be only one result in this game, which is a Bucs win. It might not be a dominating win, but it should still be a win to say, you know what?
Dean Jensen thinks it's going to be a blowout, 34-20 Bucs.
I could disagree with you, Britt Buck. I think this is going to be like a Super Bowl flashback for Tom Brady against Nick Foles. And I see Nick Foles trying to use some Philly special in the madness, but I see Tom Brady coming out on top in Soldier Field.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this is a Bears team, as Britt Buck says, who was very just they're not sure what's happening. Listen, I disagree with you. I think Mitch Trubisky still has a lot to offer, but I think it's. I do. Look.
He has the opportunity.
Look, I get it. I understand.
Nick Foles is taking the job from him.
Listen, I don't think that's
collarbone, right?
Children, stop it.
I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that's going to happen because Nick Foles is the guy who comes in when things are going badly. He is not an NFL starting quarterback.
How are you gonna say that to somebody who won a Super Bowl ring?
He won a Super Bowl when Carson got injured. That's what I'm saying.
He won a Super Bowl against Tom Brady and the undefeatable Bill Belichick.
Well, I don't know about this thing. But all I'm saying is,
I have both of you to your rooms. Now stop it.
The last team that he started for was who? Jacksonville. How did they do? He got replaced.
He got hurt in the very first game.
No, he got replaced.
It was 8 minutes into the game, and he broke his collarbone.
He got replaced. He got healthy though. No. He came back and played so badly that they put the mustache in. He played in the same season, and I'm telling you,
he did come back.
He did. I'm telling you.
He came back.
I know you're Ruth the Truth, but don't argue with me. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, it's true though. So to me, I don't take anything away from Nick Foles. I think he's a great quarterback. I do. And he's won a Super Bowl. You're very right about that. But all I'm saying is, if you look at his track record, he is a guy that comes in to mop up. He's not a guy who's going to start. So if Mitch Trubisky gets the start and comes in, I think Nick comes in at that point.
Okay, this is what you're saying. You said Mitchell is coming in. He's going to bomb it. He's going to show why he's a waste. And
that's not what I said. No. You're taking my words now.
You're right. He's better off the bench.
No. Listen, all I'm saying is Nick is going to come in and he's going to play well. Anyway, all right.
You two start. Honestly, that's it. Like any more of this arguing, and I will do this show without you.
This is what we're supposed to do. Anyway, all right.
This is what people are here for.
That's right. This is why they're tuning in.
You know what? It probably here's me trying to come at you both with a bit of love and harmony. And you know what? I'm sure everyone just wants to see the arguing anyway.
Two questions. Captain Jack Rackham says, thanks for watching, of course, Jay. Says, who are the two Bucs who tested positive for COVID-19? Second, who is the backup QB? And Jay Bucs did answer this question a little bit in the comments. But as of now, there are two people who have been tested positive for coronavirus. Obviously, they've been told to self-quarantine for the next 14 days. The team is not revealing the names of the infected as of right now, and they also have not revealed that if any players are involved in that. So there's still a lot of questions that come with that, and I think the Bucs are just kind of leaning more toward caution right now than they are anything else, because I think that's just where we have to lead at this point. So that's it. But as far as the backup goes, it's Blaine Gabbert. And listen, I like the idea of Colin Kaepernick. I think it would be an interesting dichotomy if God forbid, if Brady does get hurt, that the Bucs may be interested with Josh Rosen from Miami. He's 23 years old. He's kind of battling with Ryan Fitzpatrick for that starting job right now. Both of them kind of went back and forth last season. But if you have an opportunity to get a young quarterback like Josh Rosen to sit for 2 years behind Tom Brady and then come and be the franchise guy at 25 years old behind the greatest quarterback to ever play this game, in my opinion, do you pull the trigger on that, or do you not, and you just see what you have for the next 2 years and then draft a quarterback? Interesting question.
I've made my thoughts, and I'm sorry, and I'll let you come in a second, but this is one of my bugbears. I've sort of made my views on this quite sort of known. Josh Rosen is a fantastic kid, and he looks like he's got raw talent. And I think that if he's allowed to sit behind a quarterback maybe like Tom Brady, like similar to the Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre situation, there is a possibility that he could be the next guy. But for me, I don't see it. I think there's too many ifs, buts, and maybes there. Right now, I'm actually happy with Gabbert sitting behind Brady. I think they're actually very similar in how they play the game. Yes, they've had very different results, but how they play the game and how they're going to fit into a system is going to be very, very similar. Now, is Gabbert the long-term answer at quarterback? I'm going to say no. We had this conversation last week about Ryan Griffin. He's been kept around for a while. He also has a very similar style. He is a head-up, feet-setting pocket passer. He can manage a game. He doesn't have to be spectacular. It could be the way that this offense is moving. It could be that actually this offense is going to evolve into a completely different animal. Do I think Josh Rosen is an appropriate choice here to sit behind Brady for the next 2 years? No. And you know what? Nobody's going to change my mind. Maybe that makes me a little bit closed-minded on the subject, but I just don't see how it works. I understand the arguments, and I still don't believe those arguments. For me, it's going to be 2 years of Brady and possibly looking for a new quarterback, either one that hits free agency, maybe another sort of Tom Brady deal with someone just reaching the end of their career. Maybe it's through the draft. Who knows what the future holds?
Right. No, I agree with you, Britt Buck, and Josh Rosen, competing with Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm sorry, did I say his name? Fitzgerald?
Yeah, Fitzpatrick.
Just call him the Fitzmagic.
Competing with them in Miami is going to be tough. I mean, he was, the 10th overall pick in 2018, but competing against the season that Ryan came off of last year with, Tua coming off of a great a great college career and hopefully will make a huge impact for the Dolphins. I see Rosen, becoming a free, sign that could, if he lands in Tampa, like you said, let him sit behind Tom Brady for 2 years, let him learn the experience, learn the game, and become a franchise quarterback for Tampa. I feel like wherever he ends up, it's going to be a good fit.
Well, and here's the thing about Tua, and listen, being here in Tuscaloosa, you don't get away from Tua Tagovailoa. He's talked about everywhere. But the interesting part of that is that he's also coming off of a career where he had several injuries. And so that's a big risk when you have a guy like Tua who has the talent to make this team and to be the starting quarterback, and that's who Miami thinks they're getting. But with Josh Rosen, you don't know. So it's a very interesting thing. I just brought it up because there were several conversations about it. And I think if the Bucs, if they get a move that makes sense, I don't think O.J. Howard then makes sense. Listen, for those of you that think trading O.J. Howard is a smart move, you're dumb. And I'm going to
where?
Anywhere. Everybody seems to think that O.J. Howard needs to be traded. Everywhere, every trade that is talked about is O.J. Howard in the middle of it somehow. And I'm here to tell you right now, on air, on this show, O.J. Howard will be a Pro Bowler this year for Tampa Bay. And you can quote me on that. I said it on Twitter. I mean it wholeheartedly, and I'm passionate because, listen, O.J. Howard is a talented tight end who has been a part of a terrible coaching system. And for those of you that defend Jameis Winston for a coaching system, I don't agree with that, but I do agree with O.J. not getting a good enough look. And now that he has Tom Brady, I'm telling you, his next level is going to be fantastic.
Okay, do you see Rob Gronkowski starting over O.J.?
No. Here's the thing. They brought Rob Gronkowski in as – and I don't even want to call Rob a backup. I don't want to call Cameron Brate a backup either. But here's the thing. Rob Gronkowski is there to work. I'm telling you, they may not come out and say this, but this is what it seems to be. Rob Gronkowski is a threat inside of the goal line territory within about 10 10 yards of the end zone. We know that. He's that guy. He's a great blocking tight end. So for a guy like O.J. Howard, who is still working on kind of refining some of these skills, we know he can catch the ball, although last year he didn't do a great job of that. So that's something that he's obviously addressing right now. But to me, I think if you got a guy, a Super Bowl champion like Gronkowski, to come in and to kind of just retool an O.J. Howard who's already very athletic and can do a lot of great things, I think it's just a perfect fit for a guy like Gronkowski. Listen, I think, again, I don't want to say he's a backup because I don't think that the Bucs are looking at it like that. I think they're looking at 3 tight ends that offer different skill sets and different things that they do really well.
Yeah, our comment sections are blowing up right now. We got Al Bushman saying that Gronk is only a decoy and a mentor. And then we have Jay Buck saying Gronk didn't come here to play second banana.
Carter James too, which I don't know if that's just a funny name or what, but thank you, Carter, for watching tonight. Carter says trading for Jamal Adams. Look, we talked about Jamal with Kenny Morales earlier on the show. The Bucs will not get Jamal Adams. I'm just here to tell you that. First of all, they can't afford him. Secondly, again, they can't afford him. And then on top of that, I mean, why would you get Jamal Adams right now? You have a very young secondary that played well at the second half of the season last year. There is no sense of getting a veteran for that. That is, I think, Britbuck, I think you said it this week in our group message. You said it's a position that we literally have the best part of the defense is, well, I wouldn't say the best part, probably the defensive line. The second best part, it's a position we just don't need to fill right now.
Yeah, it's also a problem that we don't have.
Right.
Why fix something that isn't broken?
Yeah, and this has been my point for a long time. You know what? The Bucs have actually got really, really good players in that secondary. Yes, they're young. Yes, they're raw. Yes, they made mistakes. But you know what? Like you look at some of the greatest players that have ever played like the game, and some of them had awful rookie seasons while they adjusted to the NFL. And you could see Devin White just was not up to speed when I know he's a linebacker, he's not a defensive back, but I am coming to them. But Devin White looked terrible in the limited action that he had in his first couple of games in the NFL. He looked lost. He looked slow. He looked like he was trying too hard. He needed this big thing to happen, and it wasn't happening. He was getting frustrated, and it looked bad. The best thing to happen to him, and this is an awful thing to say, but the best thing that happened to him was that injury, because it gave him the time to sit down and think about what he was doing. Like Jamal Dean had that same issue. He was in the team. He got burnt like day-old bread, and he wasn't in the game. Sean Murphy-Bunting, everybody was saying that he was a wasted draft pick. Now, a lot of sort of players struggle, but what they all did is they showed very, very quickly how they were adapting to the NFL. Devin White actually looked like a steal for considering he was a first-round draft pick, but it was like, oh wow, this is actually why the Bucs took this player. And the same with Jamal Dean, with his pass breakups, his speed, his range, his ability to stay with the receiver. You look at Sean Murphy-Bunting, the fact that he started becoming a ball hawk and being in the right place at the right time. And, you know, the Bucs have got these players. They don't need to go out. And yes, I know it's the splashy media thing that everybody needs to see. But actually, you've got a very secondary. You've got a great young defensive core, which is all growing and improving together. You don't need to bring in somebody. It doesn't matter who that is. You don't bring in someone who could possibly upset that balance. Now, yes, obviously Jordan Whitehead and will Evans ever be fit again? Justin Evans, not Mike Evans, obviously. But if he is healthy,
they've been really quiet. They've been really quiet about him too. I mean, and that's I think somebody tweeted that earlier today on Twitter. They've been kind of really quiet about Evans and his injury. It kind of reminds me of what is it? Kendall Beckwith. They were really quiet about his injuries too, and they didn't really touch on that. So I don't know if it's another situation like that.
It could well be.
Yeah, and it's dangerous.
But for me, why we don't sort of go for Jamal Adams is, now, don't get me wrong, okay? Don't get me twisted at all. I'm not saying that Jamal Adams is a bad player. I'm not saying that he wouldn't improve the Bucs. I'm just saying that actually the team don't need to add any safety right now. And the reason that I would stay away from Jamal Adams is that the price that's being asked is crazy, okay? It isn't the cancer tax of a third and a fifth, okay? It's not a declining player of a second and a third. It's a first and a third for someone who is going to be a difference maker in your organization. He isn't going to be a change to the lunchroom. He isn't going to make a damn bit of difference in the course of Buccaneers history, because you are paying an incredibly expensive price to get him in the first place. You're then having to spend a very, very pretty piece of change on him at the moment. And then you have absolutely no idea if he's going to resign with you in the following season. So actually, you could be paying a first and a third for a rental. And that's, you know what? The Bucs need those draft picks because you need to keep bringing through the talented players. You need to keep bringing the youth. I mean, I know that I'm actually, he's a free agent after this year, I believe, Jamal Adams. I believe this is the last season on his deal. James, our stats man, is just going to see which
stats guy apparently was on earlier.
No, you're our official stats guy.
Official stats.
We should have asked.
Actually, yeah. So he signed a contract in 2017. He signed a 4-year, $22.25 million contract. So this will be his last year. He'll be a free agent next year.
Yeah. And it's like, all I'm going to say to our older fans is, remember the years after we gave up all our draft picks. That made the team suffer for years for not being able to bring in talented youth. Right. And if we start giving that over now, then
let me tell you this. This is why Carter, he's not coming. Are you ready? He is looking for a salary of $14.6 million a year.
Jamal Adams.
He is nowhere. He's not going to get that here. He wants to. That would put his per year average between C.J. Mosley, which is around 17, and Bears edge rusher Khalil Mack for $23.5 million a year. So you mean to tell me Jamal Adams is in between C.J. Mosley and Khalil Mack as far as talent goes? I don't know about that. He's a great safety, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I don't. The Bucs don't have that kind of money to play with. I mean, even if they make a trade, I get you want to,
O.J. Howard.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody wants to throw O.J. Howard out there like he's just trade bait, but it's not true, y'all. I'm just. I don't know. For me, it doesn't make much sense to me. Just looking at it overall, I think if you have a good core group of young guys right now, which is who we have, then you stick with what you got. I mean, the Bucs went out and got who they needed to get. They needed to get a quarterback. They went out and did it. They didn't really need another tight end, but they got a guy who's familiar with the style of Tom Brady, who can help this team to kind of mold into that image a little better with Gronkowski.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't really feel like the pickup of Rob Gronkowski was something that they deemed necessary for the team's roster. I think it was more of like a package deal to come with Tom Brady. Rob Gronkowski went on record saying when he was, going into retirement that he would want to come back, and if he were to come back, he would only want to come back to play with Tom Brady. So I feel like that's kind of the pieces of the puzzle kind of just fell into place after signing Tom Brady.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up for the night. And again,
what a great show!
Yeah, it was.
I know it just flies.
It
Yeah,
really does. It really does.
Man, it's pretty fire. I like it.
Absolutely. Well, make sure you guys are listening to us. Of course, you can find us on Facebook at Bucs Life Media, who is our just one of our awesome people here that put us on every week. So thank you so much, Bucs Life Media. Of course, you can find us also at fanstreamsports.com. Guys, if you want to hear some of the best shows in the Tampa Bay area, FanStream Sports is your place. JP Peterson, who, by the way, is joining us next week on the show. So he will be here next week. JP Peterson, not Jason Pierre-Paul, JP Peterson. Who's going to join us next week. The JP Show, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. in Tampa area. Make sure you check them out. You can also listen to the FanStream Sports app. And then, of course, you can find our show there. You can also find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Anchor. I mean, you can find it everywhere that podcasts are available just about right now. So, Ruth, final thoughts for the evening. We didn't give you any homework this week, but you didn't do your homework last week.
No, this time I actually wrote it down, so I'm going to get it done. No excuses.
Last week, in case you missed the show, the homework assignment was to find out about Santa Claus and the Eagles.
Yeah, they want to prove to me how bad Eagles fans really are.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. All right. Ruth, do you have any final thoughts?
Episode 9 was a great success. Thank you to all of our fans that tune in on a weekly basis. We couldn't be here without you. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. And the live comments are awesome. So please keep those coming. And any chance you guys get to call in and have some conversation with us, we really appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. James, Britt, Buck, sir, final thoughts.
Once again, you know what? Great show. Like I love you guys, like my co-hosts. I love you guys watching. You know what? I love even the guys who normally watch who haven't been here tonight. You know, we missed you. It's been a great show. I think, you know, as I say, we wanted to try and do what we do and like make sort of a proud memory of Kyle. And, you know, hopefully we've done that. And, you know what, rest in peace.
Definitely giving a moment of silence for Kyle Riddle and his legacy for sure.
Absolutely. So we'll do that moment of silence, and we'll do that right now. And if we could just take a minute and just remember Kyle Riddle. Of course, I was kind of a little sad about doing the show today, just because of, again, of how good of a friend he was to us here at Bucs Life, and how much, you know, how long we've known each other and things like that. And, you know, we just want to make sure that you guys, you know that you are loved, you're appreciated by all of us here. We couldn't do this show without you, to be honest, and we wouldn't do this show without you. So thank you for your time. We're going to have just a quick moment of silence here in honor of Kyle, and then we'll play the outro for you guys. But we just reflect for a second on Kyle Riddle. Thank you so much for watching episode 9, Set the Sails. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you back here, episode 10, 2 digits. Now on the show next week. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to Set the Sails. Listen to us on Apple Podcast, a Bucs Life Media production in association with FanStreamSports.com. See you next Monday on Set the Sails.